I'm hungry.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the exotic Chinese Lay's sampling special! Why not infuse your Frito-Lay Lay's potato chips, and in turn, your taste buds, with a spike of flavor from the Far East? The Lay's China team has concocted more flavors than you can count, and on today's show, we will be looking at 2 of them! Enjoy the hard, fishy bite of roasted garlic oyster flavor potato chips, and the tongue-torching flavor of spicy crayfish flavor potato chips!
I must have been unconscious. I should be happy. Instead, I'm not. I should be happy that I'm looking at a conglomerate of 2 things that have actually had a lot of luck on this show. The blessed union of Lay's potato chips and Chinese products. I could be looking at 5-star ratings here, right in my hands. But I'm not happy. I just feel so unappreciated here lately. Am I wasting my time here? My time, which is increasingly finite. We know the drill now. Each one of these shirts that I wear is one less day that I get to exist in this limbo. Why am I sitting here eating products like cooped up in this tiny little house when I should be going out into limbo and exploring, feeding my mind, seeing sights that I've never seen before? Instead, I'm here in this dank house that barely has any light. Every room is a horrible mess. You'd be amazed if I would just pull the camera back a little bit. You would see just the ring of garbage that's surrounding me. And I got my dogs who are constantly heckling me and berating me and telling me to die. Isn't this exactly what you want out of a show? Could you imagine, like, Saturday Night Live, the host comes out, like, say, I don't know, Charlie Sheen. He walks out, he's about to do his monologue, he just grabs the mic, says, hey, I don't want to be here. I'm just wasting my time and yours. I'm just gonna putz around my thumb up my ass and just try to fill the time and get through this. I mean, you wonder why the hell you're watching. I mean, you know what, at this point, this show is no longer a show. This is more like a YouTube experiment. I'd barely be the first person to try that shtick. Let's just look at Mr. Jeselnik and Mindy Kaling. They have no confidence in their material, so they don't have a show, they have an experiment. We're pretty sure that our show is gonna die a death in the ratings, but it doesn't matter because it was just a fluke. It was just a bunch of crap that we're throwing together just to try something. It was just an experiment. Hey, you know what? I'm kind of curious. Let's just take a look at how many shirts that I have left. Yeah, wouldn't you want to know when you are going to die precisely? Let's go look, because I'm a sick fuck. Wow. Okay, so I guess I still do have a decent amount of time left with you guys. Well, thanks for sticking around with me, and as my way of saying thank you to all of y'all, here is yet another goddamn special. How many of these are we going to do? Ladies and gentlemen, it's the exotic Chinese Lay's sampling special. And this special will be scored by one of my most popular go-tos, perhaps on the top 10 best soundtracks ever. Listen to the sunny, homey sounds of Legend of the Mystical Ninja! And yeah, it's gonna be really hard for me to feign enthusiasm for this special. Again, isn't this exactly what you want your host of your TV show to be saying to you, the viewer? But number one, these are Chinese Lay's potato chips, and the union is going to be something splendid. It's probably going to be something very unique and tasty. Even though these are fish flavored, I have my utmost confidence this is going to be a new, tasty experience And then number 2, getting to listen to Legend of the Mystical Ninja music always puts me in a good mood, so maybe we'll be able to get through this. I hope we can get through this. Let's move on to the first one. Let's do this one first. Let's do this one first.
Feeling a bit adventurous? Of course you are! So try Lay's brand roasted garlic oyster flavored potato chips, meant to spring thoughts of Taiwanese oyster vermicelli. This chip contains a strikingly real oyster flavor, coupled with a garlic note so smooth and rich, you'll feel like you're eating in an Asian gourmet restaurant. Happiness is simple, so eat a bag and get your smile on!
In the past, I've eaten those prawn crackers, and I've eaten that Oishi fish da kropek. Those were pretty disgusting, but this I have confidence in because it's the Lay's company. How are they gonna steer us wrong? And this is not just some obscure thing that you might see 1 or 2 bags of at your local supermarket. I mean, at my supermarket I did, but in China, these things are probably littering the walls. They're probably all over the place. This is commonplace for them. So how bad could it be? And did you know? Of course you don't know. You have no way of knowing. This is something that just happened to me here in Limbo. I'm buried in my own personal world. How the hell would you know this? Did you know that the Divinity Crate charged me extra for this? And not just a little bit extra, but an extra $8 because this was imported. I've got a little beef with this word imported. It's just an excuse to charge you more money. I mean, you ever go to the supermarket, and every supermarket has this, and nobody goes to the supermarket looking for this. You go to the stationery aisle, which is taboo in itself, and they usually have this little hook that hangs down, and they have all these, the cheapest toys that you've ever seen in your life, like little pop guns with suction cups, like anybody plays with those anymore. They usually have those, like little pills that you put into water and they turn to big stuffed sponge, stuffed animals or something like that. Yeah, you find all this stuff in the supermarket, and you look on the back of them, made in either Hong Kong or Taiwan. How are they able to get away with charging you $1 for a freaking toy, and yet this cost me an extra $8? Those stupid toys were made in Taiwan, they were made in Hong Kong, they went on a ship and they were sent over here and somebody received them. Aren't you technically importing those things too? And I'm gonna level with you, I am dumb. Yes. I'm admitting that right to you right now. I am stupid and I'm self-aware of it. So if you know something that I don't, there's a comment section down below. Tell me to your heart's content, but please don't be insulting and call me an idiot while you do it. Because even though I am, it makes me feel bad, all right? Time to unpop this top. Can you imagine all the miles that this thing has traveled to get here?
Many a miles it's traveled, 1,000 miles or so. I've never seen a head of cabbage with hair upon it before.
Whew. It smells like a murky old swamp. But around the perimeters of the dark water, there grows garlic. From the factories of China to my mouth, let's take a taste test and I'll let you know what I think. Pretty cool. It tastes like an oyster, but at the same time, I ain't got no complaints. You know, as I eat this, I kind of have an epiphany. That all the canned fish that I've eaten on this show, I mean, some tasted worse than others, but I think more than anything, it was the sliminess of them that made them so gross. Because this tastes just like oysters with some garlic on it, and it tastes pretty good. This is the preferred form to eat seafood in. And in Chinatown, in the city, you'll see a lot of stores that sell dried fish. Just like with all the moisture sucked out of them, it's just like the skin and they're flat. You walk into that place, it smells pretty sour. But you know what? Because I like this, maybe I would like that too. I don't know, maybe that's something else I have to try someday. Even though it seems like I'm giving this thing a glowing review though, I still put this pretty much on the bottom of the Lay's potato chip scale if there were one. I would much prefer to eat a regular Lay's potato chip than this, especially if you don't realize what you're eating. If you don't think about what you're eating, it's gonna taste like Lay's potato chips with something kind of weird lingering in the background. Obviously, a fish taste in a potato chip is weird, just by definition. I say this about a lot of products that I review on this show. It's good for what it is. So for that, I'm gonna give it the score of 3.5 stars. Hey, you might be turned off by the idea of roasted garlic oyster potato chips, but this is the best it's gonna get if somebody had to attempt it. But do yourselves a favor. If you go into your local supermarket and by chance you happen to see this bag standing next to another bag of this, but only it's the standard size, go with the smaller one. I know, it's $8 and it's a tiny little bag of potato chips. It's a ripoff for what you get, but go with this one because you're not gonna want to eat any more than what's inside this bag. After just a couple of handfuls, I think I'm done with this one. The novelty is already starting to wear off. Could be my ADD talking. Who knows? So I'm gonna push this one down the line and keep rolling along. Let's put some new flavors in these taste buds.
It's a Lay's original with a subtle fishy taste. Try Lay's brand spicy crayfish flavor potato chips. Modeled after the popular Asian entree Xiaolongxia, this chip will assault your taste buds with a light fishy crayfish taste, along with an intense heat to all-out nuke your tongue. Enjoy these little lobsters now in the form of a potato chip. Bet you can't eat just one!
Spicy crayfish flavor kind of reminds me of my days in New Orleans. Go to any restaurant in New Orleans and you can find everybody's eating crayfish or crawfish. And at everybody's table, you just see the legs like sticking up like this. Well, they're not moving around, but you get the idea. They're just sticking up like this. Looks like every table killed themselves a face hugger from Aliens. How appetizing. And when I say the word crayfish, it also reminds me of elementary school. We were in charge of taking care of crayfish. It's kind of like a weird assignment they had us do. They break us up into groups. It was like groups of 3. We named our crayfish, I think ours was B. Brian Blair, named after the famous Killer Bee. And one of the other groups had Jumping Jim Brunzell. The Killer Bees were popular at the time. It wasn't my choice. But yeah, the crayfish were really cool. They were very cute. They were fun to play with. And I think something happened, like either one of the students dumped all the food into the tank or maybe there was something wrong with the temperature control. I don't know. But all I know is that it was one stupid student's fault and he ended up killing all the crayfish. We walked into the classroom one day and you could just smell the death in the air. Just the smell of decaying seafood. Just wall to wall covered in nothing but a fog of gray funk. And I find it ponderous. Will I be stricken by the same gray wall of funk when I unearth this bag? Yeah. I don't know why this is strictly a Chinese thing because this smells almost exactly like the crawfish from New Orleans. Kind of fills me with hope. Why shouldn't we be allowed to enjoy this? Why should they get all the fun? If past episodes are any indication, I know people are watching. Important people in high positions. If this tastes good, watch this. If this tastes good, we want this here in America. At least in freaking New Orleans. This is pretty good. It's a taste that brings me back. I remember I went to a restaurant in New Orleans. It was like an upstairs restaurant, so you look over the strip and see everybody, the adjacent buildings, throwing down the beads and all that. I had a po' boy there that I think had crayfish in it. This tastes almost exactly like that. They nailed the taste. You might not like it at first because it is very fishy, but after you eat a couple of them, it just becomes part of the enjoyment. It's a nice marriage of flavors. It's got the fishiness, it's got the spiciness. On top of that, it's got like a pleasant butteriness. And of course the potato, which people forget about that. And the spice is hot enough. You know the Chinese, they're not shy about their hot food. You ever get that spicy mustard from like at any Chinese food place? Put a tiny little pinprick of that stuff on your food because it's gonna light your mouth ablaze and it's not gonna be a fun kind of hot. This is actually very, very good. I'm not saying it's gonna burn your mouth to the point where you're in tears, but I definitely say it's advisable that you have something to drink along with this. Oh, thank you. It's been a while since I got that to work. But why pumpkin spice Bud Light seltzer? So if I were to give this a star rating, I really don't know what to do because I'm really tiptoeing around that 4.5 star rating, but I gotta think of all the other chips that I've given 4.5 stars to. Is this as good as those? I think it falls a little bit short. But at the same time, I think it's a little bit better than a 4. Maybe I'll just give it a high 4, if that makes any amount of sense. I'm not so sure these go so well with pumpkin spice seltzer, but at the same time, does anything go well with pumpkin spice seltzer? But needless to say, these are a score. If by chance you happen to see these at your local supermarket, which the chances of that are very, very rare, I know, but maybe you go to like the mall and see like one of those specialty shops open up, like the really small ones, and they sell all sorts of products like this. You're gonna see a whole line of them. A whole bunch of these in a row. The two that I've had on the show today are just the two weirdest ones that I found in the Divinity Crate catalog. There's actually a lot more flavors than this. They're all exotic, they're all weird, they're all things you would never even think would exist in the world. But do yourself a favor, go with this one, because I mean, it stands out in the crowd. It's that weird pink colored bag. Grab this one. This one is, you gotta taste it to believe it. It's unlike anything I've ever tasted before. I mean, unless you count when I tasted crawfish at New Orleans, which you would never ever think that they'd be able to nail such a specific taste. Well, they did. And China is well known for saying, serve the people. With this product right here, I consider myself pleasantly served. And hey, you know, maybe someday I'll revisit the Divinity Crate catalog and I'll pull some more weird, exotic Lay's flavors and we can do a part 2 on this special. But do I really want to do that? Getting back to what I said before, my days here in front of y'all are so limited. The next couple of episodes I gotta do, I gotta try to make them big. I gotta try to carpe diem. Am I really in limbo? Or is this hell in disguise? I got so many other things that I gotta go through and I gotta take care of. This is not how I wanted to spend the latter years of my life. Alright guys, until next time, I'll see you in Limbo. Maybe the answer is drinking more of these.